Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a really fascinating breakdown of human psychology, specifically how women silently signal attraction. Our source material hits on this fundamental truth. When a woman feels a deep connection forming, she rarely just comes out and says it directly, right? She doesn't just hand over the keys to her feelings. Instead, she relies on a silent language. She leaves this trail of super subtle, unspoken physical cues. So today, we're going to decode that silent language. We'll map out exactly what those signals are, where they come from, and why they're just incredibly powerful. But before we get to the actual signals, we have to address a really common phenomenon outlined in our source. Why do so many guys completely miss these signs? I mean, the question isn't whether the signs are there, it's whether you're actually paying attention. The source explains that these cues are incredibly delicate. They're light, they're subtle, and honestly, they are completely missed by someone who is always rushing. And let's face it, a lot of men operate in this frantic state of hurry, constantly pushing for an outcome. You could literally be standing right next to someone whose heart is totally softening towards you, practically waving a giant green flag. But if you're constantly rushing, you'll walk away totally empty-handed just because you couldn't see the path being shown to you. Catching this silent language requires the exact opposite. It requires the skill of an observant, patient mind. Let's move along and see how this builds. To really grasp these signals, we first have to understand the journey of the emotion itself. The source material lays out a specific three-step flow of how attraction actually develops. And spoiler alert, it doesn't start with a logical thought, and it definitely doesn't start with spoken words. Step 1, the emotion touches the body first. Long before she rationalizes how she feels, her physical form reacts. Then, step 2, it moves to the mind, where she actually becomes consciously aware of that pull. And finally, step 3, it reaches her words. So what does this all mean? It means at the very beginning of an attraction, her voice won't change, her vocabulary won't change, but her bodily behavior absolutely will. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote from our source analysis. "Outside there is peace, but inside a storm is blowing." Think about it. When a woman starts feeling genuinely drawn to someone, she's often fighting an internal battle. Naturally, she wants to suppress or kind of hide these new vulnerable emotions. It creates what we can think of as this iceberg effect. Above the surface, everything looks perfectly calm. Her face is relaxed, her words are completely normal. But down below the surface, in her nervous system, there's an intense storm of new energy. And here's the kicker. No matter how hard she tries to hide that internal storm, it inevitably leaks out. It completely bypasses her conscious control and shows up right there in her physical movements. And that internal leakage takes the form of 4 highly specific, involuntary signals. We're looking at the hair adjustment, the dress adjustment, the gaze, and matching rhythm. Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand that these are subconscious behaviors. They are not acting. These aren't, clever dating tricks she picked up online. These are raw, automatic, bodily responses that just happen when the heart simply can't hold itself back anymore. So signal number 1, the subconscious hair adjustment. Now, what's really interesting about this is when she slowly tucks her hair behind her ear or gently twirls a lock around her finger while you're around, it isn't just her trying to look pretty or show off. It's actually an automatic message from her subconscious. Her rational mind might be totally quiet, but her body is speaking volumes. Time almost seems to slow down in these moments. If you notice this happening repeatedly when you're around, it means you've successfully crossed a threshold. You've entered her consciousness. It's a very soft, vulnerable signal because actually, she's quietly trying to hide the fact that she's intensely feeling your presence. Moving on to signal number 2, the dress adjustment. And we really need to clear up a massive misconception here. A lot of guys see a woman adjusting her clothes and just assume, oh, she's putting on a show, trying to look perfectly beautiful for the outside world. But the source material draws a really sharp contrast here. When a woman is inwardly drawn to you, adjusting her clothes is not about showing off, it's about preparation. She'll subconsciously adjust, let go, pull, or smooth out her clothing because she is making herself comfortable for your eyes. A woman who feels no connection doesn't really care about her physical presentation in your presence. But when she does this, she's subconsciously preparing a space for you. It means she doesn't find you dangerous, she feels safe, she doesn't feel pressured, and that absolutely crucial foundation of trust is starting to form. Next up, signal number 3, the gaze of imagination. Honestly, this is the most silent but maybe the deepest signal of the whole shebang. During a conversation, you might notice her eyes kind of drifting away from direct eye contact. But watch exactly where they go. They drop to your lips, your hands, your fingers, maybe your neck. And she might do this over and over. The explainer source notes that this is absolutely not just idle curiosity. A woman doesn't deeply observe a man's lips or hands unless some internal feeling has been triggered. This gaze, it's literally her imagination at work. She's subconsciously looking at the places where she envisions a future physical or emotional connection. She won't say a word, she won't make the first move, but our eyes are telling a complete story of anticipation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the fourth and final physical cue, mirroring. We define this as a subconscious psychological alignment where someone perfectly matches your physical rhythm. This one isn't just about the body or the eyes, it's about the entire flow of the interaction. Think about it. If you lean back, she leans back. If you move your hands a certain way, she adopts a similar gesture. If you speak slowly and calmly, her voice naturally adjusts to match your exact tone and speed. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. This is not imitation, it's deep alignment. When a woman naturally falls into your rhythm, it signifies a profound shift. She's no longer just noticing you, she's actively, though silently, making you a part of her world.
All right, so we've covered the 4 physical signals, but here is the real million-dollar question. What is she actually connecting with? It's so easy to look at the hair playing, the gazing, the mirroring, and just assume, oh, she's connecting with my physical appearance or my body. But the source material drops a major paradigm shift right here. It emphatically states that a high-value connection is not built on a woman reacting to your physical body. She's reacting to something much deeper, much more invisible, and honestly, far more powerful. To understand what she's actually connecting to, we have to look at the difference between the unstable man and the grounded man. The source makes this crystal clear. Women do not fear strong men. They actively avoid unstable men. See, the unstable man feels empty inside, and because of that, he rushes. He talks way too much, he tries too hard to prove his worth, he gets nervous, and he's terrified of losing out. All of that desperation creates this invisible pressure, and no matter how soft that pressure is, it suffocates and completely kills attraction. On the flip side, you have the grounded man. He's calm, he's centered, he's emotionally stable. He's not desperately chasing an outcome, and because he's anchored within himself, he's naturally chosen. What those silent signals are actually reacting to is that exact emotional stability. So the crucial point is this: true connection is built in silence. It is definitely not built in the frantic noise of trying to impress someone or the desperate energy of trying to convince them of your value. If she's connecting with your silence just as much as your words, it means she doesn't just find you interesting, she trusts you. A real, genuine bond forms in those quiet moments where you simply don't need to perform. Your mere presence, calm, unbothered, becomes entirely enough. Basically, when you stop trying to prove your value, your actual value becomes absolutely undeniable. We're going to wrap up this explainer with a remarkably profound thought from the end of the source material. Life gives what you are internally ready for. Stop chasing and settle within. This entire analysis of silent signals really points right back to you, the observer. You can't force a real connection. You definitely can't manipulate these signals into existence. True connection is just a natural flow that happens mutually when there are no games and no invisible pressures. So stop chasing. Focus on cultivating your own inner stability, your own calm. Because when you stop desperately looking outward and finally settle quietly within yourself, you create this magnetic energy that naturally draws people in. So the next time you find yourself desperately trying to impress someone, ask yourself, are you building a genuine connection or are you just making noise? Stop chasing, settle within, and let the silence do the talking.